over 2x, which is root 3 over 2. Tangent of 30 is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over adjacent. X over x root 3, 1 over root 3, root 3 over 3. Okay? All right. So now let's do for 60 degrees. This time, again, highlight your angle. The 60-degree angle is this one, right? The top now. It's so slow. Okay. So what's sine of 60 going to be? Right, root 3 over 2. If I can write, which I can't. Right, because now it's the 60 degrees. So the cosine is going to be 1 over 2. And the tangent, it's going to be root 3. Okay? Now, 45, 45, 90 is a different situation. Now you've got the two legs which are equal, and the hypotenuse is just that times root 2. So, for sine of 45, it's going to be x over x root 2, 1 over root 2, which is root 2 over 2. Cosine of 45 is going to be the same thing. And then tangent of 45, x over x, is just 1. Okay? So, these are things, I don't necessarily want you to memorize them, but you have to know them as if you've memorized them. Okay? So, take a look at this one. So it says, use a trig function to find the value of x. Okay, so we are given an angle of 60 degrees. We're given the opposite, and we're given the hypotenuse. So let's write sine of 60 is x over 12. Okay? Is that right? So now, we just figured out what sine of 60 is, right? What did we say over here that the sine of 60 was? Root 3 over 2 is equal to x over 12. So now, multiply both sides by 12. So x is 6 root 3. Okay? Yeah. Right, but it said to use a trig function to find the value of it, right? So yes, you could, but it's asking you to do it using the sine, cosine, tangent. Okay?
Whenever you have sine 60, do you use root 3 over 2 then? Or is it only in this case?
Yeah, whenever you have sine 60, that's what you have to use.
Root 3 over 2?
Yeah.
Oh, so those apply. Oh, okay.
Right.
Does that say root 3 over 2? Okay, so it's root 3 over n.
2, it's a 2, root 3 over 2. Okay?
You need to know all of those.
Yeah, you need, okay, but you know what? I never want my students to memorize this stuff. Instead, I want you to learn. So for example, if you're dealing with a 30 or a 60 degree, you should be able to draw yourself a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay? Which one, okay, so here, 1, 2, 3, which one is the short leg? This one, right? So we call that x, and then the bottom is the long leg. How much would it be? X root 3, and this is 2x. So now, quickly, if you wanted to find the sine of it, you would do the sine of this, you would do this over that. Okay, or sorry, this over that. So now, hang on, please. Raise your hand if you have a question, yeah? Okay. Now, the x's kind of get in the way, right? The quicker way, is I always label the smallest side 1. Now, this would be that times root 3, and this would be 1 times 2. So now if I want the sine of 60, opposite over hypotenuse, root 3 over 2. Okay? All right. So, inverse trig functions. What if you were given all the sides, but you wanted to find the angles? Well, to do that, we use the symbol sine to the power of -1, but that's not how we read it. We read it as sine inverse or inverse sine. Okay? This is my honors class, so I do expect, right? I don't want you guys to be like, yeah, so sine to the, -1 thing. No. Okay? So, suppose there is some mystery angle, the sine of which is 1/2. So sine of the angle is 1/2. What is that angle? Well, that angle theta is inverse sine of 1/2. And so now ask yourself, for which angle was sine equal to 1/2? If you go here, for which angle is sine equal to 1/2? 30 degrees. So that is 30 degrees. Okay? All right. So if it's a special angle, you can just do it like that. But if it's not a special angle, then you have to do it using your, your SOHCAHTOA knowledge. Okay. So let's take a look at this one. I have an angle. I have the hypotenuse. And I have the adjacent side. Right? So this is what? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Cosine. So I say cosine of the angle is equal to 15 over 17. So if it's the angle that I'm missing, how do I find the angle? It's got to be the inverse cosine of 15 over 17. Okay? So let's go ahead and plug that into your calculator. So in your calculator, if you go back to here, come on now. If you go back to here, trig, you see inverse cosine is here, and just plug in the values. All right, 28.1 degrees. Okay, so take a look at that one. I have my angle here. And so I have my angle. What sides am I given? Which is the 18? Adjacent. And which one is the 27? You can do that later, Leah. Okay. Opposite. So which ratio is that? Tangent. It's OA, right? So tangent of x is 27 over 18. So x is inverse tangent. Now, okay, look. 27 over 18 can be simplified by 3. But by 9 actually, but don't, because this is an intermediate step. Just plug it into your calculator as is. Don't make mistakes simplifying. All right. So how much would x be? 56.3. Yes. Okay. All right. And finally, you guys remember angle of elevation and angle of depression, right? So angle of elevation is when you're looking up at something, like the cat eyeing that, bird, okay, who is safely tucked away in its cage, right, thankfully. But then and then the bird looking down at the cat going, ha ha, I'm safely tucked away in my cage, you can't do anything to me, right? So angle of elevation and depression. Okay, geometry. These are both horizontal lines, and all horizontal lines are what to each other? Parallel to each other. If all horizontal lines are parallel to each other, then what do we know about the angle of depression and the angle of elevation? Why? Because of what kind of angles are they? Interior is the second word.
I know, but what's
starts with an A.
Oh,
Angles
Angels.
here.
Mm.
Acute.
Mm.
The king.
Alternate interior angles. These are alternate interior angles, so they are congruent to each other. Okay.
Oh my god, congruency.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. So,
Oh my god, the arrows. Wow. Nostalgia.
so that's a good word to have chosen out of the Yep. I'm
That's not to go into it.
yeah, I was gonna say I prefer nostalgia with versus trauma.
This is
Yeah. Well, you know. So Angela climbs in their hang glider at an angle of elevation of 15 degrees. Find the change in altitude when they've flown a horizontal distance of 50 feet. So there's a hang glider going up. Angle of elevation is 15. So that's this. Find the change in the altitude, the height. This is what you need to find when they have flown a horizontal distance of 50 feet, right? Because this is a vertical height and this is a horizontal distance, this is a 90-degree angle. So look at that. All of a sudden, it's SOHCAHTOA all over again. So I've got opposite and adjacent, and this is what? Tangent of what?
15.
Equals what over what?
Y over 50.
Right, so multiply both sides by 50. So y is 13.4. So your answer should be 13.4 feet.
Would you plug it in the calculator?
Okay, hang on. You really need to raise your hands. Okay. Well, one hand, not two. Okay, so units, right? So second half of algebra 2, I always, it's more about the format, right? In addition to everything else. So units. Okay.